Here I am in my train room today. It's a Sunday, Father's Day. It's quite warm out there, quite humid. Good day to run a steam locomotive. So I'm going to get my Simplex out, have a little ride around. I'm going to show you the process of steaming it up. Now that I've changed into my working clothes, the thing with the steam engine, you get quite dirty working with coal. Got to get the gas mechanical here out into the yard and put the steam engine where the gas mechanical is, so I can oil the steam engine up. So let's get on and do that. Okay, here's the killer part of the steaming of an engine, is I've got to move the engine from there to here, and all I've got is my own back to do it with, and that's 110 pounds of steam engine, and I weigh 200 pounds, and my back can only just work about that weight. So let's hope I don't do myself bodily injury while I lift the engine over. I use two pieces of wood, two dirty old pieces of wood, which I fit under the upper beams, here and here, very close to the body. I lift it up. Well, I didn't die in the process or drop the steam engine, which is fortunate. So what I need to do now is oil it, and there's about, I don't know, about 30 or 40 oil points on the engine. I'll show you a few of them as I go around. So I oil it, get it outside, and then we fill the boiler up, and then we start a fire. So let's get on with the oiling. What I have now is my oil can, which is the same oil can I've used for my little steam engines, with the gearbox oil and rapeseed oil in it. And what I also have here is a bent paper clip, and the reason for that is to sort of break the tension in the oil as I fill the small oil boxes, so that I know that the oil goes really deep down and inside to the bearing. Now these oil boxes are for the main bearings, which are down behind the wheels. Those are the axle box bearings. Has three pipes leading from it, one to each cheek and one to the center part of the bearing on the journal on the axle. This is for the leading axle box. This is for the driving axle box. The rear axle boxes are actually fed from cups in the cab. I'll show you those in a minute. This little oil box here is for the slide bars. It feeds to the top of the slide bar. You can see the pipe here. And it also feeds the eccentric on the mechanical water pump that runs in between the frames there. It allows oil to go to the eccentric. First I'm going to oil the big end of the main connecting rod, and you can see here I have a little brass extension to the boss on the connecting rod itself, and then in that I have a bamboo little cork here, because what I found was with the rod going round, it threw all the oil out and it ended up underneath here rather than actually in the bearing. And this little cork here, which I fashion with a box knife and allow air in, as the oil dropped, air went into the bearings through this the porous piece of the cane. So I carefully offer the oil can up, and then I slowly, just forms a blob on top, and that's where my paper clip comes in useful, to just burst that little bubble, and then the oil flows down in, and then I put a bit more in so I can keep my hand steady. I'm doing it over the top of the camera, and just burst the bubble again. And that's full now. And I put a little bit around the collar and a little bit in between the two of them. And that's done. I do the same for the bearing at the back here on the coupling rods, the crosshead, and then I go in the back here and I put quite a bit of oil on the little end bearing because that takes a lot of pressure. The little end bearing's on this nut here, and that's what's driving, all the pressure of the piston comes down onto that and to drive the driving wheels. So I make sure I oil that quite regularly as I go around. A little bit of oil on the combination lever here and the radius rod and on the valve spindle, and similarly on the piston rod. What I also do as a little bit of an extra is I have some high temperature grease here. I actually used it for for the bearings on my bicycle, but I also use a little smear of it on the slide surfaces because the oil fries under the temperature, and I put a little bit on the slides, and I do the same when we come up to the expansion link here. I put a little bit inside the expansion link, give it a good rub in, and also I put a little bit on the slide here to help that out as well. And then I roll it around so that the oil gets distributed. So I carry on now and oil the rest of the engine up. Pretty well similar on both sides. Always be meticulous at oiling up a steam engine. Can't afford not to. Another detailed thing I do is I clean the tyres of the steam engine, because when it's been sat around for so many weeks, it gets the oil drips down off the bearings and onto the wheels, and that forms oil on the actual tread of the wheel. So I have to wipe that off because I have such steep grades on my line. I can't afford to lose traction through oil on the treads of the wheels. So I wipe those off. I just use a piece of paper towel. I roll it backwards and forwards. Try not to get my finger trapped under the wheel, and clean off any oil residue. See that there? That there is just off one wheel, just oil residue that's formed after a few weeks of just standing around. Have to wipe all of that off. Off all the tyres, one after another. It really helps